People often talk about feeling drained as if there's not enough time, lacking clarity, and all of this seems to happen at the same time. Now, we're going to do a short micro survey together so you can see where you are right now. Because I can't talk to each of you individually, but it would be great if you could answer these questions. Look, let's imagine it's morning. And when you wake up in the morning, what's the first feeling you have? Again, it's a scale from 1 to 10, where 10 means I'm ready to live this day. I know what I'm going to do today, why, what the meaning is, and so on. And 1 is when I just don't want to get up, not because I don't have things to do, but because I don't have the energy. That's the first question. Please answer intuitively, whatever comes to mind. Maybe you're thinking about this morning. Maybe you're recalling some bright mornings from this week or last week. That's normal. Next, let's imagine it's evening. And in the evening, when you're already going to bed, what do you feel? Did you live through the day? Did you somehow live through it? Or did I once again not manage to do the most important thing? Or did I do well? I see that we have some helping professionals here. Do you know who usually makes the most mistakes and deceives themselves the most? It's actually the helping professionals. They start saying slogans like, you just need to thank yourself for the day you've had. That's all very nice, but your feelings, your body, the part of your brain that processes your senses, they don't lie. So answer not how you think you should or how you wish it were, but how it really is. Because it often happens to me that I seem to be doing things all day, but in the end, I realize this was especially noticeable in the spring and summer of this year, that my days were completely unproductive. This can apply to household chores. It's like you're investing in relationships, like you're putting effort into everything, into yourself. And even, when I go to the gym, it doesn't even bring me satisfaction. Unfortunately, people have started talking about this, but this tension hasn't gone anywhere. The feeling of meaninglessness hasn't either. So if you suddenly feel the same way, pay attention to it. It's very, very important. Planning. Third question. When you think about the future, do you feel more interest or tension? If you feel interest, that's one story with certain neurotransmitters and so on. If it's tension, that's a different story. Of course, in times of crisis, our psyche operates in a state of greater urgency. The next question is about the body. Do you more often feel energetic in your body, or do you have a background sense of fatigue, even without exertion, especially in the early morning hours or the first half of the day? Answer these questions for yourself if you have. Something like, this is about me, that's enough. People all say, Galina, we faithfully follow you, our sleep patterns are normalized, we diligently exercise, and we maintain a proper healthy diet. Some others say, no, not yet, but I truly know I absolutely should. That's good, but this is the first thing we start to fix if we're overloaded. It's about sleeping more, or rather, sleeping as much as you want. If you wake up on your own, you feel great, and you're taking care of yourself, that's okay. But that's not always enough. Today we've gathered to talk about resources. It's never just one thing. It's not like a battery as people like to draw it. I love these metaphors because they quickly grab people's attention. And people think, oh, I need to recharge from something that's very clear and understandable. Preferably to eat something, ideally in the form of a small pill. But if we talk about resources as a system of supports, what is it really? If we talk about time, it's not like a clock. It's more about the feeling of whether you control it or not. That can either be a resource or it can be something that drains your energy. The second thing is experience. It's what you already rely on, whether you've been through it or not, or you've been through it but don't use it. Next are emotions. It's very important to talk about, we constantly label emotions as positive or negative. I would really like us to move away from that kind of rhetoric. I see that all the popular science communicators have started talking about this. I'm glad about that. Emotions are signals. Emotions are not something. Imagine, and maybe I'm not saying this very well, but imagine Mother Nature. Or someone might imagine a creator. Why would the creator or nature endow us with something negative? After all, we say, if we speak in theological terms, that the creator loved his creations. And why did you create sadness and anger and aggression and hidden aggression? Why would you do that? On the other hand, if we talk about nature, evolutionarily, some things remain. Why do I like to rely on evolutionary mechanisms? Because it explains a lot. And when it explains things to me, I have this feeling of, I get it now. When you have that, I get it, you stop being indignant. Let's imagine a baseline. Below it, there's a lot of indignation, surprise, and other things. But when you have that moment of, oh, I see where this comes from, you start to grow from there and you begin to understand what you're going to do with it, how you're going to experience it. So if we talk about emotions, they're signals, and signals can be different. What really drains your energy is the desire to be positive, to be optimistic in front of others. It's like depression with a smile on your face. That's a dangerous thing. Never do that to your brain. There's a concept called congruence. I would expand it specifically to the congruence in how the brain works. What does it mean to hold yourself back? What does it mean to keep a straight face, to take a hit, and so on? That's me using my prefrontal cortex. Right now, for example, I'm at a meeting talking about what the plan will be. At the same time, that very same prefrontal cortex, imagine holding someone tightly like this, and this person isn't just trying to break free. They're being torn apart in every direction. This could be a terrible tantrum or aggression. They want to hit everyone around them, to smash everything. Of course, I'm showing you this in an exaggerated way, but it happens a lot. I worked in sales for a long time, real sales, where you go out and approach clients cold and also meet with warm clients, go to meetings, negotiations, and so on. And sometimes you have key clients who, in terms of values, probably don't align with you. For example, you see someone yell at someone else right in front of you, their loved one or an employee, a subordinate. So these are the kinds of things you don't agree with. At this point, I act in a sort of parallel way in two directions. The first is to solve the task at hand. There's a goal for this meeting, a goal to make a sale, other KPIs, and so on. At the same time, my cortex is holding back the subcortical structures, which are like, Galina, this isn't what we're about at all. What are we even doing here? So all of this, it was created, not by accident, but by evolution. We need to get away from what destroys us. And your emotions are telling you that. That's why positivity is now sometimes called toxic. Emotions are signals. Let's remember that. And these signals are not random. They are very resourceful if you listen to them properly. They're like little bells, ding, ding, saying, Galina, you want something different and you need to trust that. We also say, often I understood intuitively, I realized intuitively. That's what this is about, among other things. Something inside is scratching, scraping, and asking you to do things differently. Please listen to your emotions. And that is definitely a resource. And another resource is society, people you can rely on and lean on. I remember myself running to the dormitory when I was living in the medical dorm. When I was studying, I would literally run to the upperclassmen in other rooms. Instead of cramming one more page, I would just run and ask, what are the professors like? What do they pay attention to? So I would just ask directly. This is a real resource. Someone recently told me that networking in Silicon Valley is all about constantly communicating with the people you meet. This is who I am. Well, this is how I live in general. So for me, it's completely normal. This does not mean that I am an extrovert. This means that it is simply a resource being used, because I gain strength precisely through introversion. Finally, the last one is creativity, even in very practical formats. Even a micro brainstorm at work about a problem you're trying to solve counts as creativity. If, for example, you have a child in elementary school or kindergarten, they will gladly accept your help with making things. Anything at all. Right now it's the New Year holidays, so take advantage of this. Feel a surge of strength and energy no matter how tired you were after work. And suddenly you sit down and say, make a Christmas tree ornament with your own hands, and you'll feel how wonderful it is. In general, doing anything with your hands is very beneficial. Our fingertips occupy a huge area in the associative cortex. Movement, sports, it's a huge field. This is movement, sports. Please don't confuse sports and movement. Sports, as a rule, are done 2 to 3 to 5 times a week. But movement happens many times a day. I always give the same example. Imagine a higher primate. For example, a gorilla. It doesn't sit in one place all day. It's constantly either climbing up a tree, coming down from it, or scratching itself somewhere. Sometimes it goes to someone, sometimes it fights, sometimes it climbs a branch to get some treat. So it's moving all the time. It's always happening. And we are built in exactly the same way. So what should we do about this? Let's talk about that. If we talk about what helps is a vacation where you go somewhere, or a complete disconnect, if you can actually do that. Recently, someone asked me, why do you always have to go away somewhere? Well, for some people, traveling is also quite expensive. I say you can do it without leaving if you're ready to completely disconnect and change your lifestyle right in your own home. when you don't live the same way as usual, when you do something completely different. And people ask me, I don't do a deep cleaning every day. Is that okay? At first, I wanted to answer, no, like that's still work. But then I thought, listen, for a top executive, that really is a different kind of activity. In short, look, if we're talking about resources, I'd like you to see, look, I've listed time, right? Experience, people, and so on. Now imagine that these are our keys, and all these keys are gathered together into one bunch, like a big keychain. And think about your own keys. Especially, well, more often, I've noticed this with men, because they have keys to the house, to that very storage room, to the mailbox, to the garage, maybe to something else, to the car. And that's a bunch of keys. And you don't always use all of these things. But if a person forgets these keys or doesn't have some of them on hand, it's not just annoying, they really feel it. How could this happen? Why didn't I remember? Why didn't I take them? That's what it's like in the moment if it's a real situation. And for the brain, it's just another drain of a large amount of energy because there's nothing to rely on. And that's activation. The amygdala triggers the activation of the hippocampus, the hypothalamus, the entire axis, hypothalamus, pituitary gland, adrenal glands, which leads to chronic stress and other related issues.